The $87 million prototype had just rotated off the runway when the primary actuator began to seize. In the cockpit, the ambitious founder Marla felt her stomach drop as every control surface went heavy. On the tarmac below, the man she had publicly fired 3 hours earlier, a quiet single dad named Elias, was the only soul who knew exactly why the jet was dying. He could have stayed silent. Instead, he grabbed the emergency frequency and walked her crew home, one precise call at a time. 18 hours earlier, the main hangar at Ridgewood Dynamics glowed under banks of halogen lights, the concrete still holding the chill of a Detroit dawn. Marla was minutes from announcing a $1.8 billion merger that would either cement her place at the head of the company her father left her or hand the board every excuse they needed to push her out. The star of the show was the sleek RD-87 prototype, an aircraft built to prove the firm could stand with giants. Elias worked the overnight diagnostics bench in grease-stained coveralls, a folded note from his 8-year-old daughter tucked in his pocket. For words in crayon, "Dad, come home safe." While checking the starboard actuator housing, he spotted microscopic aluminum flakes drifting in the fluid. The computer showed every reading green. The cycle repeated every 19 seconds, too rhythmic to ignore. Elias requested a full delay. The junior tech beside him whispered that the automated checks had cleared twice and that stopping the demo could cost them both their jobs. Elias answered that a screen without a warning was not the same as an aircraft without a problem. He had buried one friend after a similar vibration was dismissed. He refused to carry a second name. When Marla swept in with investors and cameras, her operations chief Victor declared the night shift tech was grandstanding. Marla, neck tight with pressure, looked straight at Elias and said, "You're scaring people to feel important." Badge on the table. "You're done here." Security walked him out. Elias placed the badge down without a word, only murmuring that metal never cared who wore the suit. Outside the fence, he heard the engine spool up and caught the faint harmonic tremor no one else seemed to notice. 37 minutes later, the jet was airborne when both actuators began to bind. Controls stiffened. The nose gear refused to retract. Marla demanded they bring Elias back. Victor insisted he had already been terminated. But the captain cut through. They did not need rank. They needed the man who had seen it first. Elias's phone rang. He answered without hesitation, asking only for pressure readings, skin temperatures, and vibration signatures. Security still blocked the gate until the head of quality control overrode them and pulled him inside. There she admitted she had flagged the same substandard batch 4 months earlier. Victor had ordered the file buried to protect a supplier kickback worth $430,000. Elias rebuilt the failure on a workbench using a spare actuator, stopwatch in one hand, daughter's note now resting beside the gauges like a talisman. He calculated that pulsing the backup system for exactly 8 seconds on, 14 seconds off, would keep heat below the failure threshold. One cycle wrong, and the entire hydraulic manifold would weld itself shut at altitude. He talked the captain through a low pass so ground crews could visually confirm the gear. Then, with fuel for one final approach, Elias described an old Dutch roll side-slip maneuver that might slam the nose pin home using airflow alone. The captain trusted him, executed the slip, and the gear locked with a solid thunk. The jet touched down fast, flaps crippled, brakes pulsing exactly as Elias counted. It slid through foam, stopped 50 feet from the perimeter fence. Silence, then the soft sound of every technician exhaling at once. Later that night, in the same hangar still smelling of jet fuel and fire suppressant foam, Marla offered Elias a $1 million bonus and the title of Director of Flight Safety. He slid the check back untouched. "What I want," he said quietly, "is for you to stand in the exact spot where you fired me, in front of every person who watched, and tell them the truth." 3 days later, the entire workforce filled the hangar floor. No stage, no script. Marla walked to the precise patch of concrete, where she had once humiliated him. Her voice shook only once. I was wrong. I chose image over evidence, title over expertise, and fear over the lives in that aircraft. Any employee who sees danger has the right to stop any flight, anytime, without retaliation. I failed you. I failed all of you. And I am sorry. The silence that followed felt heavier than any engine roar. Then, the head of quality control stepped forward and simply said, "Thank you for choosing us this time." Months later, the faulty batch was recalled. Victor faced charges. The company rewrote its entire safety charter with an independent board that answered to no single executive. Elias accepted the safety role, but kept his same hourly wage and the same grease-stained coveralls. Each evening, he still unfolds that crayon note, now creased soft as cloth, before he drives home. His daughter no longer waits up worried. And every time a young tech raises a hand and says the aircraft is not ready, Marla listens. Because one man taught an entire company that respect costs more than $1 million, and that real leadership sometimes means standing where you once caused pain and speaking the truth out loud. Some people never need a fortune to prove their worth. They only need the people above them to finally hear what they tried to say the first time.